So in this video, we will learn how to subnet a network or perform subnetting. So first of all, we need to understand what is subnetting. Basically, subnetting is just a way to divide a large network into smaller pieces which are called subnets. And the reason why we do it is because it helps us organize and manage large networks by breaking them into smaller sections or pieces. So let's say you have a huge corporate office and you have different departments and different floors. So you can subnet your network in having each part assigned to each of the department or floors or whatever not. Now the next thing that we need to understand is the IP address, which is these four numbers divided by the four dots. So the IP address is divided in two parts, which is the network part and the host part. The network part identifies the specific network while the host part identifies the device within that network, and this will be more clear when we actually perform the subnetting. And what the subnet mask over here, which is /26, does is tells us which part of the IP address is the network part and which is the host part. So the first step is to convert this into decimal to binary. And here what 26 means is just that we have 26 ones and the rest are zeros. There's 32 in total bits, 26 are ones and the rest are zeros. So this is how you convert the subnet mask to binary. It's just 26 ones. Let's say this was 24. So 24 would be just removing these two extra ones and replacing them with zeros. So in our case it's 26. So let's just go back. Now the next step is to write the IP address in binary. And if you don't know how to do that, I have made a video how to convert decimal to binary, so you can check that out. So now we can draw a line where the ones stop for the subnet mask, which is right here. And what this tells us is this part, which is the network part, is fixed, so we cannot change over here anything. And this part is the host part, which is we can change this, and the highest will be all ones. So 1 1 1 1 1 1. So what I mean to say is this left part before the red line is fixed, you cannot change this, and this part over here you can change it up. So this would be the lowest IP address in the network, and the highest IP address would be all ones, which is this part. So this part over here, this would be the network address, and this would be the broadcast address, as the broadcast is the highest and the network is the lowest, and between all the IP address are the host which we can use for our network. So now questions that you might be asked on this is, what is the network address? And what is the broadcast address? And what host or what IP address range that we can use for the host? So host. So we know the network address, which is this part over here. So it's all the zeros. It's first IP. So it's going to be, let me just scroll down. This part over here. So we can write it again in decimal format because this part is going to be too long. So it's going to be 192 because this part is all fixed. So let's just write that first. 192.168.2.64. So 01 and all zeros. So that is 64. So that's the network address, and the broadcast address is this part is fixed and it's 01 and 6 ones. So it's going to be 0 1 1 3 6, so 7 in total. So if you convert this to decimal again, you will get 127. So let's just remove this 127, and everything else will stay the same because this part the left side of the red line, we cannot modify it, so it's gonna stay the same. And everything between the network address and the broadcast address is used for the host. So host will be from 192.168.2.64 all the way up to 127. So these two are used for the network address and the broadcast. So it will start from 65 until 126. So what I mean is everything is the same, the first three optex, and you start from 65 because 64 is used for the network address all the way up to 192.168.2.126. So now, what if you are given an IP address and you are told to create three subnets for the network? And you need to find for each subnet the network ID, broadcast ID, subnet mask, host ID range, and the number of usable hosts. So for this question, we can refer to this table where we have subnet, host, and subnet mask. And as mentioned before, subnet is just the number of networks that we can divide. So 2 networks, so 4, 8, and just multiply by 2. And host is the number of hosts in each subnet. And subnet mask, as we know, is just subnet mask. And here the question was that we need three parts of the networks, or I mean to say three subnets. So here we have an option of 2 or 4. Would 2 subnets be enough for the network in dividing it by 2? The answer is no. So it's better to make it 4 networks, since we will just have one extra and we can keep that for later. So let's choose this column. So just highlight it maybe. So very easily from this table now we know that in each subnet there will be 64 hosts. The subnet mask will be 26/26, and we will have 4 subnets. And from this now we can easily find all of the details. And just to mention this 64 host in each subnet also includes the network ID and the broadcast ID. So now we can start writing the details of each network subnet. So the first thing that we can do is write the network ID for each subnet. So originally we have the IP address of 192.168.4.0. So the first address will be 192.4.0, and the next will be this plus 64. So it will be 4.4.64, and the next one will be this plus 64 again. So that's 128. So third one will be 1.128, and the last one will be 192. And we can also recheck since we have 4 subnets, and here we have 4 network IDs. So we're on the right track. And the subnet mask is over here, which is /26, which is same for everything. Now the host ID range is everything between each network ID, and we need to exclude the network ID and the broadcast ID. So the first IP address in the network ID and the last one. So here it will be between everything between I'm not going to write the first 3 optex, so it's going to be .1 till .63. So these are all the hosts that we can use for our, oh, I made a mistake here. It's going to be 62, since 63 will be the broadcast ID over here, and 64 is the next network ID. And for the next one it will be .65 until .126. Let's actually write all the broadcast IDs first, so it's more simpler. So it's going to be the last one IP address before the network ID. So it's .63 over here, it's going to be .127. and the next one is dot 191, and for the last one we can just plus the difference here. So we're adding 64 between each broadcast ID. So the last one will be 191 plus 64, which is 255, and over here we can write the host ID range dot 129 until dot 190, since 191 is the broadcast ID, and I just realized we can move this up actually. So not arranged properly, so this aligns with this one. Let me just underline this if this is not making sense, or yeah, so now it makes more sense. 193 till 255 minus 1 is dot 254, and now the number of usable hosts will be 62 for each of them, and 64, 62, 62, 62, since two of them is used for the network ID and one is used for the broadcast ID. So that's all for this video. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer, and thanks for watching.